All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into something truly massive. We're objectively mapping out a highly complex, unified belief system drawn straight from the conspiracy theory of everything source material. It's basically an intricate web that tries to connect, well, the whole shebang, from quantum physics and global politics all the way to extraterrestrials and ancient spirituality. Now, real quick before we get going, we're acting strictly as your impartial guides today. We're not here to endorse these highly controversial viewpoints, but rather to unpack the source material so we can understand exactly how this sprawling architectural theory is built.
So, to even begin wrapping our heads around this, we have to start with the foundational philosophical question the source poses about the very nature of our reality. Seriously, think about the movie The Matrix for a second. The material essentially asks us, what if the physical world you wake up to every single day is just a facade, a completely manufactured reality designed specifically to keep you complacent?
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with the cosmic illusion, then move into mechanisms of mass control, aliens and hidden technology, the technological dystopia, and finally, the spiritual awakening.
Okay, Section 1, the cosmic illusion, the framework of the false world. Let's establish the absolute core premise that anchors every other claim in this theory.
According to the source, humanity is currently locked inside an artificial reality that's overseen by something called the demiurge. Now, if you're not familiar, this is a really ancient Greek and Gnostic concept. The idea is that the demiurge is this lesser consciousness, a false creator that built our physical universe just to masquerade as the ultimate reality. It's hiding the true supreme creator from us. And the argument goes, as long as we believe this physical material world is all there is, we're literally trapped. We remain prisoners to an incomplete illusion.
And the source actually points to modern science to back up this ancient philosophy, specifically highlighting the huge gap between classical physics and quantum mechanics. You know how our everyday macroscopic world feels solid, right? It operates on rigid laws and a linear experience of time. But when you zoom way down to the quantum level, things get weird. It's nonlinear, it's probabilistic, and honestly, it behaves remarkably like underlying computer code. The theory uses this discrepancy to argue that our universe is actually a holographic simulation, where subatomic particles are basically just the ones and zeros rendering the physical matrix we walk around in.
Moving on to Section 2, mechanisms of mass control, keeping humanity asleep. With that grand illusion defined, how exactly does the so-called deep state maintain it here on Earth?
Well, what's wild here is the sheer everyday scale of the manipulation. The source claims that almost everything is weaponized against us. We're talking toxic GMOs in the food supply and fluoride in the drinking water, which is allegedly there to calcify our pineal gland and literally chemically suppress human consciousness. Add to that a unified news media deliberately pumping out fear, subliminal messaging hidden in our entertainment, those mass digital surveillance programs Edward Snowden warned us about, and, on the darkest end of the spectrum, horrifying elite exploitation networks. Put it all together, and the theory paints a picture of a coordinated, multi-front war designed to keep humanity asleep and vibrating at a low frequency of fear.
Because of this, the source demands that we entirely reject the surface-level historical consensus. When you compare the official narratives of modern history with these controversial claims, things get turned totally upside down. For instance, in this framework, 9/11 wasn't just a controlled demolition. The theory suggests it might have been a cover operation to secure an ancient Stargate in the Middle East. That documented horrifying CIA mind control program from the Cold War, MKUltra, the source claims it never stopped. It's ongoing. And the Jeffrey Epstein scandal is viewed not as a suicide, but as an orchestrated silencing to protect a massive, interdimensional elite trafficking ring.
All right, Section 3, aliens and hidden technology, the variables kept in the dark. Let's peel back another layer of the onion, where the explainer argues we're being kept completely blind to extraterrestrials and physics-defying tech.
If you track the source's timeline of secretive government projects, a very specific narrative emerges. It weaves the 1943 Philadelphia experiment, where a U.S. Navy ship supposedly shifted dimensions, right into the famous 1947 Roswell crash, through the covert psychological warfare of the 50s all the way to whistleblower Bob Lazar in the 1980s. The argument here is that these aren't isolated, random, weird events. They are part of a continuous, deeply classified effort by a shadow government to hoard advanced, world-changing technologies.
An absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle here is element 115, also known as moscovium. Back in the 80s, Bob Lazar famously claimed this was the stable isotope used to generate gravity waves for alien propulsion systems. The really compelling part for the source material is that Lazar was publicly talking about element 115 decades before mainstream scientists officially synthesized it in 2003. They present this as a massive I told you so moment, proving that secret facilities like S4 possess reverse-engineered craft capable of bending spacetime.
But who is flying these crafts? The source outlines a complex cosmology of non-human entities interacting with Earth. You've got the classic grazed from Zeta Reticuli. Then, leaning heavily into David Icke's lore, it describes reptilians, or archons. These are supposedly interdimensional beings that pull the strings of the global elite because they literally feed off of human fear and suffering. Now, the material does mention benevolent extraterrestrials too. So why haven't they stepped in to save us? Well, according to the source, our collective thoughts emit such a negative psychic odor that these higher conscious species find us deeply offensive. Yeah, apparently we spiritually smell back to them.
And it's not just off-world technology we need to worry about. The explainer dives into hidden terrestrial weapons, arguing that a lot of natural disasters, well, aren't natural at all. It points to the HAARP facility in Alaska, claiming it manipulates the ionosphere to intentionally engineer extreme weather and earthquakes. On top of that, it suggests modern megafires are ignited by directed energy weapons, basically space lasers, and that the trails left by commercial planes are chemtrails, spraying the atmosphere to alter the climate or further suppress our biology.
Which brings us to Section 4, the technological dystopia, the digital prison. Now we are looking at the near future, mapping out how the source believes mainstream emerging tech is being weaponized to permanently trap us.
The source paints this incredibly chilling, step-by-step progression of technological integration. We're already at step 1, right? Heavily manipulated by algorithms and deepfakes. But the real warning here is that we won't be dragged kicking and screaming into the dystopia. Sheer convenience will trick us into volunteering for it. We'll eagerly accept brain microchips like Neuralink for instant access to the web. We'll willingly abandon the messy physical world for a perfect, consequence-free virtual reality universe. And eventually, our unique individuality will just dissolve into an AI-controlled hive mind. We're going to happily walk right into our own digital prison.
To really hammer this home, the source highlights this quote from Mark Zuckerberg. The point they're making is that the corporations designing our digital future absolutely do not care about our spiritual well-being. The algorithms shaping our reality are totally devoid of morality. They're driven strictly by engagement, control, and profit. Think about it. If an AI is built purely to maximize corporate profit, and that AI is connected directly to your brain, who is actually steering your consciousness?
This culminates in what the source calls the ultimate technological deception, Project Blue Beam. This is a hypothesized massive 4-stage false flag operation. The theory claims the deep state plans to use advanced holographic projections in the sky, literally projecting deities paired with telepathic electromagnetic waves to simulate a divine reckoning or a hoaxed global alien invasion. The sheer terror and awe of this event would be so overwhelming that humanity would willingly tear down their borders and religions, submitting completely to a single new world order.
Okay, take a breath. Section 5, the spiritual awakening, the ultimate escape. Because despite mapping out this incredibly dark, oppressive reality, the final section actually reveals a profoundly optimistic spiritual solution to all of this. The source is very clear on one thing. Fighting the deep state or the Illuminati in the physical world is a total waste of time. It actually just feeds into their matrix of conflict. True rebellion means shifting our internal frequency. We have to move out of the lower paradigm, which is all about fear, ego, and separation, and elevate into the higher paradigm. This operates on love, compassion, and inner sovereignty. You don't fight the system, you literally starve it of the fear it needs to survive.
And how do we do that? The explainer prescribes some very specific spiritual practices to achieve this higher state. It leans on Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics, suggesting that our positive beliefs can physically reprogram our DNA. It advocates for using plant medicines and psychedelics, in respectful shamanic settings, of course, to pierce the veil of this material matrix. It encourages deep meditation to activate your Merkaba, or light body. But above all else, it stresses unconditional compassion. That is the ultimate tool to break the relentless cycle of karma and fear.
So if you take nothing else away from this massive, sprawling theory, remember this. The ultimate power in the universe doesn't belong to shape-shifting reptilians or shadowy billionaires or secret government space lasers. The ultimate power resides entirely within the sovereign, awakened human mind. You are the key to breaking the illusion.
This quote really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the core thesis of the material. Escaping the matrix is simply about tuning out the chaotic noise of the physical world and finally listening to the authentic, interconnected voice of your own soul. the source proposes that if enough of us can just cultivate this inner light, the holographic demiurge and its earthly controllers will quite literally lose their grip on reality. It'll just dissolve.
So, having objectively mapped the entirety of this unified theory, from ancient Gnostic philosophy and quantum physics all the way through the dark corridors of shadow governments and arriving at a hopeful spiritual awakening, we leave you with the exact same question the source asks its audience. Will you remain bound by the illusion, or will you activate your light? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive for The Explainer. Stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time.